Hello and welcome back to the island. This is Print Island, and I'm very, very pleased to say I'm back with the software matrix. Within the matrix today, he's taken even the blue pill or the red pill, or maybe he's followed the white rabbit. I'm not sure. We have Markzware's David Dilling. David, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Chris, for having us on. And I've definitely been down a couple rabbit holes.
I think we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, there's a different podcast.
David, I think just first of all, I've always come across you at different places around the world. I think last time we worked together was on something in Print United last year, I think, wasn't it? In Vegas? Good
Las
old,
Vegas,
good old Vegas. Markzware for me is a fantastic company with real innovative solutions and ideas. And I think what would be really, really good, first of all, for our listeners and our viewers, is to get a sort of a basic overview of what is Markzware and what does it do, and what do you do, David?
what is Markzware? Well, Markzware is a company that's been around for like 35 years. As a matter of fact, our flagship product, FlightCheck, just turned 30 this year. So that's quite amazing. And what we basically do is file interoperability. So we make sure that different file types can work together in the design and print publishing area. So file conversion.
Mm-hmm.
Now the big thing is structuring files, for the AI. So we do that as well, taking unstructured documents and making them structured for the AI. And Preflight. That was our flagship product, FlightCheck. That was the very first commercial pre-flighting product that came out in 1995. Pre-flighting itself, the term was coined by 𝗕𝗁𝗄𝗏 a little bit earlier than that, but FlightCheck was the first real product on the market. And later came Pitstop and all those type of PDF things. But that's our main product offerings: file conversion and pre-flighting.
Okay. Excuse me. So where would FlightCheck, for example, sit on the workflow for somebody from my point of view, I'm very much interested on the front end and generating that job file. For me, who's probably not quite as technical, where does FlightCheck fit? Yeah, I'm gonna have a drink as well.
Well, I think I had a long night last night, a lot of talking, but business event,
Yeah, of course, no beer.
Businessmen, they tea. But anyway, where does FlightCheck fit? Well, it should fit at every location where a job is handed off to someone, or nowadays something else. So that's like a common quality assurance, practice. For printers in particular, of course, they should be checking as early and as soon as possible, and that means nowadays actually getting on the desktop of the customer and checking before the file even comes in, one way or another. So that's a short answer to the question.
Okay, so potentially it could complement an existing workflow. Then it would be more inside the office, inside the factory floor, for example.
Right. Multiple places and multiple tools. I mean, not all tools are the same. So FlightCheck is more of a order desk, customer service rep type of tool. Free press people use it too, for sure. But you got your PDF editors and PDF checkers. That's more downstream in RIP, but also for the technicians down, further downstream. Highly, much more technical and nerdy, really. Where FlightCheck gives you this nice preview. You see your file, you get a nice list of everything. It's very easy to interact with your file, basically. Click on something, it shows you where it is in the file, what it is, what the problems might be. Yeah, I actually enjoy using it. I couldn't imagine people not wanting to use it in our business.
What's the common? I mean, this is quite an expansive question, but what are the common pre-flighting errors that FlightCheck and Markzware look for within your software? Is there a common thing?
Well, there certainly are a common thing. I mean, we have hundreds of checks, and if you some things are a combination of issues could make a big problem. So there's probably thousands of potential things to check for. But the big ones are, of course, missing elements, missing fonts, missing images. or non-embedded fonts if at the PDF stage. Low res, that's probably the biggest problem printers are facing. You still see when you grab a local newspaper and you see an advertisement, you think, oh boy, why didn't they check that, or why did they allow that? You know, why would anyone pay for that? But anyway, low res is definitely probably number one. Missing or unembedded fonts, number two, and color is still an issue, although it's more and more in RIP handled and worked out. But for people that are want their brown to be brown, you know, you're going to want to make sure it's in the right color model, CMYK, for that RIP as compared to RGB, or the spot colors are set correctly, wherever it might be. So color is another area.
Okay, it's interesting. And obviously I've got a few notes here because I've done a little bit of research.
Sure.
Only a little bit of research.
Yeah.
With regards to, that's FlightCheck. So FlightCheck does the pre-flighting, yeah? You've got another product called DesignMarkz as well, DesignMarkz, sorry.
DesignMarkz, yeah.
Yeah. How does that complement the FlightCheck piece, and what else does it do?
Well, that's okay. Oh boy, where do I start with this?
That's why you're here. That's why you're on the island.
Yeah. Well, this is a long story, and it's a very interesting story that Markzware and Patrick and Ron, the co-founders of Markzware, we all started on well before the pandemic. Was basically we do a lot of PDF conversions with our PDF Markz product, and we saw a lot of PDF, and we get to see a lot of what these PDFs are, what type of PDFs they are. They come from an InDesign, they come from Acrobat, they come from all kind of different PDF producers. And we started seeing more and more Canva PDFs. And like 7 or 8 years ago, we're like, what's a Canva? And then you figure it out, and then through the years, we're getting more and more of these Canva PDFs. So this became a real serious task for us to figure out how we can get more in with Canva. It's an online design tool, which you you probably know that. Canva.com. It's fabulous.
Some would say it's the best, but I'm just putting it there. I'm not going to say any more than that.
Yeah, no, I'm there's definitely people that love and only use Canva, and but there's definitely some other professional designers I can understand why they're also using other tools like.
Oh, that's very diplomatic.
Yeah, well, it is, but it's true though too, because there's just limitations in Canva that professionals.
Okay, David, so let's jump in now. I know you're about to tell the story, but one of my next questions was going to be: I've seen that you partner and work with both Adobe and Canva, and for me, you've just answered that question because. And am I right in thinking it's because you're catering for the different kind of designers and the different kind of remits and everything else they may want? Therefore, is that right?
Absolutely. We've always been seen as, because we started converting files way back when, PageMaker to Quark, that was the big thing. And because, and PageMaker was the dawn of DTP, and, then they went into Quark, and the Quark Express was the king, and then everyone went to InDesign, and now people are going from InDesign to like Affinity Publisher and different things, and Canva. And that's what DesignMarkz is. So we'll come back to DesignMarkz in a second. But so they always see us as Markzware as like the Switzerland of the industry. And we don't choose sides. We don't want to fight. We just want to help everybody convert.
I love that. I'm going to coin that phrase, Switzerland of the design industry. I love it. So, I mean, look, we can't get away from the fact there's 150 million users on Canva now.
Well, you must have looked last month. I think it's now 250 million.
No way, really?
In 1 month? I could be wrong, but
whoa,
it's amazing. They're growing by leaps and bounds. And but okay, so DesignMarkz is basically a very long process, because the way the way to have to get into Canva, you need to have an online portal. And we're a desktop, group here. We make products for the desktop. Well, we had to totally retool. And the pandemic turned out to be perfect, because we reworked our engines. We used to have the file conversion and the pre-flight engine were separate. So we merged them together. And now they're one engine. That gave us internal APIs. And that allowed us to make what's called Markz Portal. And you can check it out on Markz Portal, Portal.com, .markzware.com.
Yeah, we'll put the link down below.
Yeah, it's a long,
Yeah.
it's a long one. But
Yeah.
Markz Portal then allowed us to integrate with Canva, and our first product was ConvertMarkz, which converts Canva files to InDesign. So we were kind of thrilled.
Sorry. So you're bridging the gap now between the two major
Right, that's
players.
how we started. We went to the very first Canva developer meeting. We walked in with shirts that said, well, I don't have it here, but it basically said for InDesign users who love Canva. And the founders of Canva were there, and I saw them like pointing at us, and then Melanie Perkins and her husband, the one of the co-founders as well, Cliff. Can we take a picture with you guys? They asked us for a picture, so we had our shirts, and we're like just like this, and then we met Cameron Adams there as well, the other co-founder, and they're just very approachable, kind people. And their whole philosophy is, design for everybody, affordable design for everybody, and democratizing design is one of their slogans. At least it was. And we've always said internally, we're democratizing content. That's our, in the creative zone, because a lot of these files are proprietary, and you just can't open them up if you don't have an expensive Adobe subscription or what have you. So they actually were fine with going from Canva to InDesign because we were getting asked for that.
Yeah.
They're hearing that as well from their enterprise users, which they were at the time just starting to break into. That was about 3 years ago. And now we have DesignMarkz, because that was always our story. And to them, our goal is to go the other way around as well. Because people are going to want to get stuff into Canva. They already do. And it's only grown since 3 years ago. And that's what DesignMarkz is. It'll get all your DTP files into Canva with a click. Oh,
Wow.
maybe 3 clicks, actually.
Wow. I just find it really refreshing that, obviously I knew of Markzware working with both Adobe and Canva, but the fact that you're also bridging the gap between both mindsets, platforms, stacks, whatever terminology you want to use, it's just so agnostic and so refreshing. And do you do that with other systems? I mean, is it, in short, what I'm about to ask is there a design package that you don't convert?
Yeah, for sure. There's some things on our to-do list. One of them is Affinity Publisher, which we're working on now.
Okay.
And that's sort of in our portal. You can try it in our portal. I think it will read the file in, but won't really convert it yet. But you can see it's like making progress. And that's very interesting, because Affinity just announced yesterday, they, end of I think October 30th, they're having a huge announcement. And of course, Canva bought Affinity. So that gives Canva the, for those that say, I can't use an online tool, like I just had a bank on the phone all this morning that trying to install our desktop product, but it wouldn't work with the licensing server because they're a bank. They're behind all kind of firewalls. So we have a way around that. We got it to work. But yeah, these banks aren't going to use, they're not going to be allowed to use Canva online. They have to have a tool on their desk. So Affinity is a very interesting development for Canva and for the market as a whole. So very interesting times for sure. But there's other, like a 𝗵𝗆𝗄𝗆 we don't support yet. That's on our to-do list. That's a very popular one with certain segment of, as we saw at Printing United, a lot of the sign shops and stuff,
Yeah. I mean, it's mad. I mean, I think it's, that list is going to get smaller anyway with the arms race between the big two. I think things will change. And then I wanted to stick on the Canva piece for a minute, if I may. Because
oh yeah, we love Canva. It's a very, very energetic space right now.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I want to talk about it is obviously the likes of HP are now working with them through their own ecosystem as well. And I think, well, I know that the consumer is using it, and therefore print on demand needs to work better. We're going to receive jobs, we're going to receive artwork through Canva platforms. There's an ecosystem there. We can all embrace it. What are you doing, or what do you want to do for print service providers so that they can embrace the Canva revolution better, so that they make more money, more ROI out of all these jobs that are stacking up from Canva users?
Right. Exactly. Well, when we were at Printing United, we had that big sign that said that we help printers with Canva. I forget exactly what it said.
It was quite clear, wasn't it?
It was quite clear and big,
yeah,
and they all
yeah.
stopped and made comments, sneers. A lot of people hate Canva. A lot of printers hate Canva. It's like,
Swear
bro.
word, the swear word, right? But my point being, though, David, is they may hate it, and there may be, but if there's, we can't turn revenue away. You can't push the customers
Exactly.
away.
Exactly.
So how can we, as an industry, embrace all revenue streams? And in your case, it's helping the PSP with Canva, right?
Right, exactly. So that's what we're there. We had, and the printers are half joking, of course. You know, it's just they're getting problematic files in. Canva users are less. That's just one of the problems with democratizing design. You're getting less professional creatives, you know, doing professional graphic design type of jobs, or trying to, and it doesn't always work out, of course. So that's my slogan is my whole life. Every problem is an opportunity. So this is an opportunity for printers to expand their markets and expand their business, and maybe get more into consultancy as well, helping these customers that aren't professional designers with some of these files. But our whole goal is to, as you know, like you said, HP Canva prints themselves, and they, you know, got some of their printed stuff. It's quite easy and nice. I bought some sweaters on there, and we've done some business cards and different things. But at the end of the day, Pat, Markzware, the owner of Markzware, he uses more often than not his local printer, because there you can go into the shop, they can talk things over, they can see things, you know.
Yeah.
But we design in Canva. So the printers, our whole goal is to help printers get in good PDFs from Canva.
That's fantastic.
That's the longer term goal here. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. And I also love what you're saying there about going into your local printer and you know, having those conversations. I think that's something that, you know, we need to get back to a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's, you know, it's like on this channel, we push automation and cutting down on touch points, and, you know, people's time is money, but actually sometimes you need to go old school, right? So
That's right. Yeah, it's very, very, very communication. That's pre-flight problems are often down to lack of communication, and that's with anything in life, really.
okay, so I'm going to ask you a bit of an opinionated question, and then I'll move on to another topic. All right? Do
Sure.
you think? You can either represent yourself or you can represent the company. No pressure, David. Do you think Canva is putting durable pressure on Adobe? You got 10 seconds to answer. No, joking.
No, absolutely. I think Adobe has a big. I won't say they're in trouble, but if you look at their stock price and their stock, analysis, they are in trouble. So they're going to have to, shore up the leaks, as it were. But the thing is Adobe is Adobe, and professional designers are still using the Adobe products. As a matter of fact, a lot of the requests we get for DesignMarkz, people who want to get InDesign stuff into Canva, are from professional designers. And they very quickly say, oh, it's not for me. It's for a customer that's. And then one guy 2 weeks ago, he says, it was English guy. I had 3 calls this week for people that want to get their stuff in Canva. So I thought it's time I did a chat GPT, and they led me to you. So here I am. And so
I have to concur with that, David. I have to concur, because I did a little experiment for some of our AI content, and I said, I give my GPT a name, so I'm not going to tell you what I call it, because that's personal. But what I did say was, please tell me the top pre-flighting software packages in the market, and Markzware came up. So I would just like to say that your content is being indexed very well through the GPT world. So
thank you. Tell them you like it too. But another indicator for me that Canva is putting pressure on Adobe was that besides 250 million users, but when we were at the Canva Create last May, we go into every one of these over the 3-4 years here. And last May was a big one at the YouTube Theater in LA. And when we were driving in, we saw this huge billboard, Adobe Express. And then we drove, when we came in the other way, the other day, another big billboard, Adobe Express. And I think there was another one about Photoshop. And we sort of made a mention to it to the Canva folks, and they were sort of amused, and they noticed it too. But they sort of downplay it all, and they don't make a big deal about it. But
Well, because it's reactive marketing. If Adobe have gone and done that, they're obviously worried, which is why they're
exactly, it
so
was so clear.
speaking volumes.
It was very clear. And Adobe is trying with Adobe Express. I mean, Adobe Express used to be a little tinker toy type of thing that was useless, and all of a sudden, it was only about a year and a half ago, they flipped it into a Canva lookalike. I mean, in so many words. It really does behave and look a lot like Canva. And there's some shortcomings to it, but there's some things they do better than Canva. But the problem is, we see the PDFs coming in. I maybe see 1 or 2 Adobe Express PDFs this year. And I've seen, hundreds of Canva PDFs. I don't probably thousands. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So just to clarify, then ultimately the position of the company is we'll try and take any file from any design tool, and we'll try and convert it accordingly. We want to work with all. And in terms of where the software suite sits in the workflow, it's probably more on premise. And then you'd complement the likes of an InFocus or a Callas or whatever it may be.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got, we definitely work together with the matter of fact, FlightCheck will allow you to go to problem in Acrobat, and then you can use your pit stop or your Callas to edit it. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. That's good to know. Yeah, that's good to know. I think that's something that's probably maybe a little bit misconception in the industry. Sometimes you assume, you say pre-flighting, and you assume there's a common.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, it was like a little bit of a battle, and we would call it pre-flight, and we would call them post-flight,
Right.
because you're checking after the concrete's been laid. If you find an error, you have to have to. So and there is definitely still the further upstream you check, the less costly the problem. The further it gets downstream, the more expensive it's going to take to fix the problem. Whether it's a new photo that needs to be done, or a new image needs to be done, or a print that needs to be redone. And obviously that gets even more expensive. So
yeah, okay, that's brilliant. Do you have any kind of customer examples where you've put one of your systems in, or you've been part of a journey and you've really seen sort of ROI or some kind of successes that you want to share with us?
yeah, there's so many. I mean, we have a lot.
Great.
Yeah, we have a lot on YouTube. We have a lot of customer testimonials and playlists on customer. Check those out. But one that a recent one is this huge company, and hundreds of Adobe Creative users, and they're switching to Affinity Publisher and the Affinity Suite, basically. Actually not basically, they are switching from Adobe Creative Cloud to Affinity Suite. And this is a huge, I won't say the sector, but they're the largest in their, or they were one of the largest companies in their sector. Hundreds of just InDesign users and Adobe users, and they're switching, and they're using our new Markz Portal, because they have Mac, Windows, all types of different users, and they're doing it online, and they're converting hundreds of files already after just 2 months. And they just emailed yesterday and said, yeah, it's working great. It's above expectations, and the volume is more than we thought. So the usership, because they didn't demand their people to use it, they just offered it like, here's a way to help you get your content into the Affinity site, because they're stopping Adobe, like, I think this month or next month. So then it's going to be fully, yeah. So that's just one little example. It's a very simple process, like file conversion. Pre-flight's different, of course, but it's also a relatively simple process.
Yeah.
But the returns are just, the ROI is just huge. It just depending on the workflow, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds it. And it sounds like quite a focused, bespoke solution for that particular business. There's a problem, challenge, and you've gone and solved it, and you're now reaping the benefits of that. So,
right, exactly.
Moving about a bit, going on to partnerships here as well. I mean, do you have any partnerships or examples with DAMs or RIPs, web to print, or is that something that, again, you sit further down the stream to?
That's been how do you say it, the Achilles heel of Markzware for many years, because like I said, we used to have two separate engines,
Yeah.
and we didn't have APIs or SDKs or none of that, so it was very hot folder based, so we have a lot of people using our stuff in like switch workflows and stuff like that, but we don't really do much for that.
Yeah.
However, that's all changing
Okay.
with Markz Portal, because the so-called internal APIs have now been made as external APIs that anyone can use. So that's kind of still in the infancy to a certain degree, because we haven't even officially set the pricing, or just actually have set the pricing. That'll come out soon. So now we can actually start looking at partnerships with DAM companies, with potentially RIP companies, but digital asset management is a huge area where we just could fit perfectly into the workflows. Yeah.
Okay, that brings me nicely on to my next question, because you've kind of led us into it's coming. What's on the roadmap for Markzware, and is it all top secret, or can you share anything with us today?
I mean, it's not really top secret. We talked a lot about it, like at Printing United, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to be there, and it was great to partner with you guys on that. Is that we're working on this Markz Portal version 2, which will incorporate a lot more, be a lot more Teams ready, enterprise ready, where
Yeah.
there'll be a lot more like this big customer we have, they had a couple areas where they weren't so happy in the beginning, but they accept it now because it works. But they like to have more control over their team and see who's using it, who's not, that type of stuff. So that'll be coming, and that'll be version 2 of our Markz Portal, but that will also incorporate white labeling. So you can not only APIs and do it yourself, but actually just like a white label solution where you can just, change your logo and have a nice front end. And it will also include preflighting. So you can preflight through the cloud. In other words, get on the desktop of your customers. Like we used to offer a FlightCheck online. We stopped that years ago because we were just too early at that stage. Year 2000, the internet speeds were not like they are today. But so that's the future roadmap, is a Markz Portal 2.0, and that's the engine. That's the heart of all of our Canva apps and all of our conversion. In the future, all of our pre-flighting will be as much as possible in the cloud.
Okay, so that sounds exciting. I have to ask you about the famous 2 letters that everyone's talking about at the moment, AI.
Yeah.
Everybody, I mean, everyone I speak to on the Matrix is just like, look, we've been doing it for ages. The print industry's the best. We're very technically advanced. What's Markzware sort of plans, vision, opinions on the AI piece, and then
Well,
what sort of conversations are you guys having with your customers?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of interesting things, and this is really one of Pat's, Marchese's big thing is the AI, and rightfully so. I mean, sometimes we're more focused, or I'm more focused on like getting what the customers want right now and making sales and making people happy. But the reality is, what we do is structured, like I mentioned earlier. We can take this unstructured InDesign content and structure it in a JSON file, which is actually the engine for DesignMarkz is a JSON file, and that JSON file can contain all information on the file, all the text content, but also all of the specifics about where items are, what's the resolutions, the name of images, what fonts are used, and that's the same file that does the conversion as a preference sort of file. Can be used for the AI to feed into LLMs, or to use with your MPS, or set up like ChatGPT like Perplexity like chats with your files.
Wow.
Yeah, so like Acrobat has it. You can chat.
Yeah.
No, you got all these chat with your PDFs, but this is the same thing, but then on a highly technical level, and for all these other file formats we support. So InDesign, or Photoshop, or QuarkXPress, Microsoft Publisher. And by the way, that's another important one I should have mentioned earlier, is that Microsoft Publisher is discontinuing. Like I think next year officially they're going to, like, you can't even get it anywhere. and we already have lots of people coming and begging us, can you convert Microsoft Publisher to InDesign or Microsoft Publisher to Affinity Publisher?
Yeah,
Yes, we can.
that's amazing.
So that's what we're working on even more right now to get more out there. But yeah,
Okay.
so the AI is definitely a big one because we see inside these files, and you can then, based off of that, you can do just all kind of automated things, and the
Just
AI is just a
like a co-pilot helping you with the checking and the
right.
adjustment of the file, right?
One of the problems with FlightCheck, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to have this check. Oh, I want to do this," and it's like, I'm sorry, fella, you're like the only one in the whole world that needs that. But they think it's like the best thing ever, and they
Yeah,
they
yeah,
feel let down.
yeah.
But now with this, you can sort of like just make your own custom pre-flight just through the
Mm.
through the NPS server and a chatbot, a GPT. So very interesting times ahead, I think, for us with AI. But it's just in general, AI is just not going away, is it?
No, it's definitely not, and this will be a common discussion point on the Matrix, and probably in most webinars and podcasts that we're all part of, and trade shows for the next 1,000 days, as they say. But I'm really glad, David, you saved that exclusive for this conversation because I think that's absolutely exciting. Do you have any like personal preferences or opinions on AI in the print space from your point of view? What you'd like to see more of or less of?
That 4P, were you there at 4P's event a year? Anyway, I don't think you were there, but they have that atomics product 4P's, and they're having like there also a lot of APIs and automated flows, and they had like was it Pat McGrew or Pat McGraw and
Oh yeah, yeah.
David Zwang, and they were speaking, and Bernd Zipper, and the big thing was, and of course is, that there's just a lack of employees, like, qualified people to work at print shops, even at restaurants, and
Mm,
hotels.
mm.
You go to a hotel and say, well, yeah, last year, last night there was like 4 or 5 people. Now it's only you. Yeah, we don't have anyone to work. The bar's not open. Sorry, can't find anyone to work. I was in France and Netherlands, the same thing. I don't know how it is out where you are in the Gulf Coast, but America, same thing.
I think it is generally Western. The West has that problem. We don't see it as much here, but I think there's a lot of. Don't want to get too geopolitical here, but there's a lot of political issues with those kind of employment roles, isn't there, right now?
All
And
right.
I think since COVID, I don't think the Western world's really come back from opening up restaurants and bars and stuff. And as you say, so many print shops shut down, didn't they? So and that's a really interesting point. Really interesting point. And it again, it's another theme that all the big organizations, I know DScoop do a lot on the next generation. How can we get the next generation of people through to run the print shops, to be interested in design, to fall in love with print again, And I think that's something that we've also heard out here. I was at a 𝗵𝗲𝗄 event, and somebody stood up and said, people can't sell print anymore. And we asked him what he meant by that. And he said, there's a whole generation that could sell print properly, and they've all retired or left the industry. And he says, the next generation coming through are just selling by doing emails or instant messaging and not selling it properly.
Right. Right.
So it's an interesting point, right? And so I guess what you're saying is the software is going to take.
That was their whole
Yeah.
point. The speakers there was basically, you need to automate, and AI is just helping automation at another level. So you can handle a lot more customer service oriented things with AI to a certain degree. I think people are still vital to a success of an organization, but it really depends on the type of company. There's some companies that could just work perfectly fine with just one person and all kind of automation. And hey, I know a couple.
Yeah.
So
Same.
it really depends on what you're after. But the human touch, I think, will be a key thing in all of this, at least for the time being. Who knows what next year brings?
No, I
But
love that, David. That's a fantastic way to end it. I think I'd love to know from your point of view, who would you like us to interview next on the Matrix? Is there any fans' favourites that you would like us to approach, or anyone you'd like to stitch up?
Tim Cox, I'd like to stitch up.
Tim
But
Cox. Okay.
say hi to Tim. But and speaking of Tim Cox, it was actually I was thinking about Martin Iyer the other night, just coincidentally. I'm not sure if that's who I would recommend, but he's an interesting person. Uh, Cloud Printer is very, very interesting. The whole Print API initiative, and I was just curious, what are they up to lately? Because you heard a lot about them, or at least, I mean, we're all busy. I don't sit on LinkedIn all day looking at what's going on, but back in the pandemic, he was a lot in the news, so to speak. And now I'm just curious how it's going with him. But besides him, it would be great if you got like Cameron Adams himself from Canva, the CTO, co-founder on. Now, I don't know if that's going to be possible, but he's very approachable, and he's got his own podcast, just came out earlier this week. So yeah, give it a shot, because he's a very he was a graphic designer and involved in the print business as well before all this Canvas stuff.
Excellent, David. You give me 3 very good nuggets there. So I just need to say thanks so much for coming on to the island. I'm not sure whether you took what pill you took or whether you followed the rabbit, but the main thing is make sure you remember to unplug tonight, or plug back in if you've got a sore head from your networking event. And thanks again. Keep up the good work, and keep challenging the status quo, and keep being Switzerland.
Yeah, and thank you, Chris. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk. As always, it's nice to talk to you, and on this type of platform, just fantastic. So good luck, and thank you.
Thank you.